Alright, what's going on? What's going on? It's your boy T. I'm coming back with another installment. This time, the topic is socialism good? Do you believe socialism is good? Now, if you've been keeping up with my other videos, you will have a good understanding of what socialism is already. But for the people who haven't, real quick, let's just get a quick understanding real quick. And you could refer to my past videos on why I define socialism, why the way I define it. You could do that. But now, socialism definition: a political and economic theory of social organization which advocates that the means of production, distribution, and exchange should be owned or regulated by the community as a whole. So now, real quick, in America, we as the community, or as the people, or as the public, or republic, because the way our country operate is, or a better way to describe it is, the way our country is categorized is that we are a constitutional federal republic. So we elect representatives to exhort or execute our power. So when it comes down to the community as a whole, this is speaking of government. So now, as I said, if you've seen my previous videos, you would know what state ownership is, which is government ownership. Is government ownership good? Now, in certain instances, yes, government ownership is good. We need a standard across all 50 states of policing, or a form of healthcare for people who cannot afford healthcare, things of that nature. We need a school system for people who can't afford to pay for privatized school, for example. But now, when it comes down to the means of production in general, how much state ownership do we need? Now, one thing that a lot of the socialists in our country, what they profess, when I say socialists, I mean the politicians. They give you a story, they tell you a lot of good things, but what exactly is it that they're doing? Some of the things that they say is that we're for the people. If any politician tell you that we're for the people, we here for you, run, go the other way. But now, the things that they tell you is things that sound good. We want healthcare for all, free tuition, countless things. They advocate for social programs in general. Now, with a socialist system and with state ownership, this means high taxation. And with high taxation, that means that there is less power in the private sector to do their will with their ownership and their means of production. They have to make hard choices when it comes down to employment, when it comes down to gaining resources and things of that nature, operating a business in general. So, in a socialist system with high taxation, what they say is that the rich is paying their fair share. So, how fair is this system that they speak of? Or how well does it fare out? What else are they spending our money on? Again, if you watch my previous videos, I gave you an example in history where the Wright brothers basically put government investment to shame with this guy Langley. But that, like I said, you can look into that yourselves on your own time. So now, what happens when we place harsh restrictions on the rich? You know, they say the rich, they need to pay more. They make enough. You know, they got it. They need to pay more to contribute more to society, so we could have free things. Because at the end of the day, that's what we are promised from socialists: free things. So I got another little link from Investopedia. And one of the things that we hear about a lot is corporate taxes. So let's see what happened from higher corporate tax. Moving jobs and profits overseas. I actually speak about this a lot. The irony, we gotta bring our jobs back. Let's read. Higher corporate taxes don't just hit corporations. They have a ripple effect on the economy as a whole, as well as American workers. When they're forced to pay higher taxes at home, many U.S. companies, and this is the big part, many U.S. companies relocate to countries with more favorable low taxes. Well, they say tax laws, but that's basically what they mean. Like I said, Investopedia, I need me working for y'all. But I mean, I'm gonna stop right here for a moment. Who in their right mind wouldn't? Think about it. If you over here, you know for a fact, you know you got the money to move, like you rich. Why would somebody rich stay here if they know that the taxes is high? Think about that for a minute. Why would the rich stay? You could raise the taxes on the rich. All that's gonna do is drive the rich out. They the innovators. Bye bye innovators. Bye bye job creators. Let's continue on. When these companies move their headquarters or create foreign subsidiaries, jobs and profits also move overseas. So exactly, everything is just like, I'm gonna just read on. In fact, the number of U.S. jobs at major multinational corporations tend to shrink when they move their operations to another country. So the thing is, what that means is, once they move overseas, they not really worried about having it multinational. They not thinking of, I got my United States and I got my, no, because in the United States is high tax. Why would they keep that? They just moving straight overseas, and if they produce something, they shipping it to U.S. If you got tariffs, hey, they rather pay the tariffs. But guess what? Socialists is against tariffs. So let's read on. Uh, Wait, hold on. As a matter of fact, I actually do want to skip ahead. So let's skip ahead a little bit because I want to make this quick because I got something for y'all to watch. All right. Discouraging savings and investment. Another problem that comes with higher corporate taxes is the fact that they don't encourage corporations to save or make major investments. Instead, they're more focused on spending. One big issue I have with high corporate taxes is that they encourage business owners to spend instead of save for the future, said Jeff Kier, co-owner of Planned Pod. Comprehensive online event management application. The way the corporate tax code was structured, he explained, if you spend your revenues in your current tax year on your business related expenses, you can effectively write many of them off. So basically, what they're saying is the way that this system works, it's better for you to just spend all the money off and write them off in taxes. And this is why you see a discrepancy with this whole Trump issue where they saying he paid 750 in taxes. That's another conversation. I'm gonna make a video on all that. Don't worry about that. Because actually I didn't necessarily want to read that part. Well, I'll make a video on that since I said something about that. But it's about these regulations, and when you got some lawyers and you got this type of money, you can find loopholes to do anything, baby. Like if you like, I'll be honest with you. A lot of y'all people be hating on stuff like that, but if you was able to do it, you would do it. A lot of y'all people be scammers, and if you, like for example, if you go in the supermarket and something, you looking at it and it ring off and it's wrong, but it's in your favor. If you was in a bank and the bank teller gave you something in your favor, you want, well, people would. I'm not going to say everybody going to just take off. Well, I mean, it's a lot of people out there that just take it, you know. But I don't want to be too long-winded. I wanted to just get into those aspects real quick. And one thing I also want to get into is when people say, for example, Western Europe. Western Europe is flourishing and whatnot, and they're socialists. You know, I just want to show this real quick, a little map. Pardon me. Now, on this map, you can see Western Europe is definitely not socialist. Let's read what it says real quick. The following image are a combined map of all countries that declared themselves socialist states under any definition at some point in their history, including recognition by the Soviet Union, color coded for the number of years they said they were socialists. Western Europe, I mean, a little part of Spain, that's about it for about 40, 50 years. But Western Europe was never socialist. Now, of course, you have some parts of, if I did, yeah, Western Europe, sorry. You have parts of Eastern Europe, which was at the time under Soviet influence, even though they weren't necessarily, you know, a part of, well, I'll make a video about that. Because, like I said, my channel is rather new. A lot of information to come. Because a lot of this history we learn about ain't correct. A lot of people, we learn our history from biased people. You got to learn what is objective and subjective. So we're going to get into this nitty gritty, you know? But yeah, I just want to show that real quick because people talk about how Western Europe flourished and they're socialists. Even Denmark, the leader of Denmark, he came. In a future video I'll probably go into that. But the leader of Denmark, he came and did a speech, if I'm not mistaken, in a college in America, and he wanted to clarify and he stressed that Denmark is not a socialist country; they're a market economy. So I just wanted to show that real quick. What else I want to get into? Well, I mean, this is something else. Extreme poverty, as you can see, but that's something else. But this right here is what I wanted you guys to see. Now, this is a woman from Yugoslavia, and you can see the date. You can look this up if you want, but I just want you to hear what she had to say. Now, just to give you guys a little understanding why I'm showing this is because Yugoslavia actually at one point embraced heavily socialism. So let's see what an actual person that lived through the change of socialism and what it done to their country.
Not so long ago, I was a lab mouse of dictators in my country. That country was Yugoslavia. Rather than giving you lessons about history of my country, I want to give you the timeline of the events which led to an extremely bloody war and dissolution of Yugoslavian Federacy. I will leave it to you to make conclusions about similarities with recent events in the United States. In the 1989, the fall of the Berlin Wall marked the victory of the free world over tyrannical monstrosity of communism across the Europe. However, Yugoslav communists didn't feel like letting go of their precious powers. Since the climate in Europe was extremely anti-communist at the time, they knew they needed a new strategy, an ideology that would seduce the masses and keep the power in their hands. So they come up with a very clever idea, to rebrand the communism in Yugoslavia and to change its name into socialism. Not any type of socialism, but a very special type, the National Socialism. Sounds familiar? The playbook they used to progress with their agenda was already tested in Nazi Germany. To establish National Socialism, you must first install hatred in people. In order to create genocidal levels of hatred, you must divide people of one country in well-defined groups. In other words, you must create tribal or groupthink. This can be achieved in different ways. You can divide people by ethnicity, by race, by religion. You can let your imagination go wild. Since Yugoslavs were white and practically indistinguishable among themselves, the only card they could play was the religion card. Yugoslavia was very mixed religion-wise, and we had Orthodox Christian Serbs, Catholic Croats and Slovenes, and Muslim Bosnians. A perfect starting position. In the next phase, you must start making such social policies so terrible that will inevitably lead to the countless individuals.
Pardon me, y'all. The only reason why y'all see this is because I'm just trying to make sure that I'm getting a good recording of it. I was just checking the audio.
Disadvantages. When the consequences of such government policies become obvious, you must start claiming that the cause of those inequalities is nothing but discrimination and hatred of one group towards another, and naturally, you must start screaming that those inequalities must be corrected by favoring the oppressed, discriminated group over the oppressor group. Enter national quotas for hiring. Now just replace national with race or women. Once the groups are formed and well-defined, it's needless to say that all the mainstream media in Yugoslavia were government-controlled and were fueling the narrative about mutual discrimination and hatred relentlessly. The growing fear and feeling of insecurity destroyed relationships, marriages, friendships. As fear of discrimination and hostility among groups were growing, people started retreating and isolating within their own groups because they didn't feel safe anymore with the individuals of the other group. All of a sudden, staged and very well organized mass protests started all over the country. Protests against the oppression and killing of one group by another. At first, those protests were peaceful, but soon enough, rioting and burning started. Now that you have the attention of the public, you need sparks. What is a spark? A spark is a convenient event of murdering of a random member of one group by a hateful member of another. And you usually need more than one of those. At this point, people were still not completely divided. there were still reasonable people left, those who understood we are all one nation under God, and that we will not kill each other under any circumstances. They went out protesting together, singing for peace and holding their hands. But the hunger for the absolute power of socialists was stronger than our love for each other, and shootings and attacks at protesters continued. In the next phase, the tipping point with no return was reached. People started erecting barricades at the entrance of their cities, their neighborhoods, even on highways and roads. Barricades were guarded with armed civilians. Each and every attempt of the law enforcement to remove barricades and to de-escalate the situation was in vain, since they would be ambushed and killed. Peace couldn't be restored anymore, because headlines, photos and videos of dead people propagated through mass media became too explicit and horrifying. Even those hardcore idealists who believed in one nation under God, peace and love, snapped under the pressure. At that point, army was deployed to restore order, but they couldn't do much, because they were clueless about who was the perpetrator and who was the victim. Simply because there were perpetrators and victims on both sides. In the final stages, even the army was attacked during the negotiated retreat, and 50 or 100 soldiers were killed. And just like that, Yugoslavia found itself in a civil war. City against city, village against village, family against family, and so on until the whole territories became cleansed of the members of the enemy group. Genocide, ethnic cleansing, relocation of hundreds of thousands of people were everyday news. It lasted 4 years. 100,000 people died. Some 500,000 were displaced. Those people lost everything. Yugoslavia was drowned in the bloods of thousands of innocent people and destroyed forever. You might wonder how we let that happen. How could we let things get so much out of control? That was because we didn't realize who were the real enemies, the enemies of the Yugoslav people as a whole. Instead, we were brainwashed into buying the story that we, the people, are the enemies of each other, while our true enemies were advancing with their sick, demented agenda, which had as the ultimate goal the total and unlimited power.
Yeah. So I'm gonna end the video with that. Is socialism good? As you just heard, this woman here experienced the exact thing that is going on today in this country. You can look up this story if you want, just to verify if she is lying. It's very easy to look up things today in 2020. Everybody has a computer in their pocket. But I was scanning through the comments and this one stuck out. I was born in Yugoslavia. And I could tell you, she is 100% on target. Looks like the USA is being played by the same demons that destroyed my country. Or at least they read the same book. Socialism is communism for the slow learners. These are people around the world. People look at the irony of the explosion of Latinos, as legacy media says, the explosion of Latinos voting for Trump. And that's because they understand the reason why they came to this country and they fought and they did the legal process to get here, as hard as it was. They know coming here was fleeing the very system that people are advocating for in this country, and it's called socialism. So is socialism good? Catch you guys next time. Peace.